Wes, so good to see you. We are talking the SpaceX hype, opportunity, or overpriced rocket. There's a lot of buzz around SpaceX and other AI companies right now, but history tells us hype does not always equal investor outcomes. So, how should we weigh the opportunity versus hype right now?
Well, I think this is one of the coolest IPOs of our generation, and I think perhaps even for the next 50 years, right?
Mm,
You're talking about a company that has three main parts to their business. You have
right.
Starlink, which is just an amazing network connectivity, satellite-based internet, which is changing the way things work. You also have rockets, and then you have XAI. So Starlink is making up about 61% of revenue. It's profitable. That's a great part of the business, but the other parts, they are bleeding cash like you wouldn't believe. So
Right.
a lot of hype around this is extremely overvalued, as we'll talk about here. But I think this is when patience is going to reward the investor best. So there'll be some attractive opportunities in the future.
That makes sense because historically, nearly 60% of IPOs since 1980 have returned zero or negative returns over 3 years. That's according to University of Florida professor Jay Ritter. So, how should that shape the way investors approach high profile IPOs?
Well, this is a great opportunity to see what happened in history. And just like you said, we're talking about big names like Facebook or Meta. Uber would be another one. Some of these IPOs within the first 12 months or so had drawdowns greater than 50%. So
Hmm.
again, a lot of hype around, these tech names, but that doesn't always mean that just because there's hype that we should chase rates of return. I think there'll be a very attractive entry points for the investor that is again patient, and that's not always easy to do, especially when we're seeing headlines. But if you have questions about it, like we have been fielding from clients, happy to chat about it. But again, sit back, relax, and I think you'll find a great entry point in the not too distant future.
SpaceX was targeting a $1.75 trillion valuation, but Morningstar puts fair value closer to 780 billion. How important is valuation discipline when it comes to choosing how to invest?
Valuation is really everything. Look at one of the best investors of all time, Warren Buffett. He's a value
Mhm.
investor.
Right.
Pretty good track record, right?
Yep.
Of being patient and waiting for the right opportunity, even if that means having a little bit of cash on the sideline to take advantage of these opportunities when stocks sell off, to buy up those beaten names, right? But again, I think it's a waiting game. But there are going to be some that say no matter what, they just want to have a position linked to an Elon Musk company, and that's fine. But we'll talk about how do you size that, because that's really important too.
Right. That is my next question. For investors who don't want to miss out but are wary of the risks, what's a more disciplined approach to evaluating whether and when to invest in a company like SpaceX?
Well, we have to recognize that an IPO is a liquidity event, but that means that when positions are sold off, and that's going to happen at some point, the early investors, there's probably going to be some pretty good entry points, and you have to evaluate how concentrated you as an investor want to be in a particular stock. And I think again, it's a very exciting IPO. It's a very exciting company that's going to have a lot of success in the years to come. But even at that, taking a look at maybe a 1 to 3% position in a portfolio, not being overly concentrated, but enough to where you can benefit from the growth over time that happens in the stock.
Interesting. Yeah. And I know, Wes, you said you've been fielding a lot of phone calls. I'm sure you invite more. Maybe people want to talk through how it can fit into their portfolio. That being said, how can they get a hold of you with more questions?
You can reach out to us, info@patriotwealthnc.com, or pick up the phone, 919-322-4113.
All right, Wes, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.